Hello, and welcome to St. James and St. Brennan's Story Time. Today's story is The Apple Star Adventure. The Apple Star Adventure was written by Chris Summerhays and was illustrated by Chris Summerhays. That's me. This is an Amazon production. The Apple Star Adventure. There once was a little boy who had all the toys. He had this box and that game and that ball, but he was bored. "Mom," he said, "I'm bored. Bored. Well, his mother, who knew how to do all kinds of interesting things, said, "You should go on an adventure." Missed a page there. "You should go on an adventure to find the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." The little boy thought for a minute and thought this didn't sound quite right. But his mother went to the closet and got his coat and got his cap and put it on and pushed him out the door. But he said, "I don't know where to go." She said, "Just go down the road. Tell me about your adventure when you come back." So the little boy started down the sidewalk, and it wasn't long before he met a little girl dancing with a sunbeam. "Little girl," he said, "excuse me." He was very polite. He said, "Excuse me, do you know where the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside is?" The little girl stopped dancing and she laughed and she said, I don't think I've ever seen a little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." Oh, the little boy thought, this is going to be harder than I thought. "But," she said, "my father's a farmer, and he knows how to grow corn and carrots and beets. He knows how to grow all kinds of things. I'll bet he knows where you can find the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." The little boy thanked her and kept on going down the road and started down the lane to the farm. When he got to the farm, standing in the doorway of the barn was the farmer. "Excuse me, Mr. Farmer," the little boy said. He was very polite. He said, "Excuse me, do you know where I can find the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside?" The farmer thought for a while. He said, "You know, I've lived in this area a good long time, but I don't think I've ever seen a little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." Oh, thought the little boy. "But," said the farmer, "Granny lives down over the hill, and she knows how to make taffy apples, and she knows how to make popcorn, and she knows how to knit a red scarf. I'll bet she might know where the little red house with no doors and no windows is." The little boy thanked him and continued on down the road. It wasn't long until he went over the side of the hill, and at the bottom was a beautiful little cabin. And sitting on the front porch, wrinkled as a raisin, but smiling like the sun, was Granny, and she was knitting a red sweater. The little boy came up and said, "Excuse me," and he startled her, and she dropped her wool, and it rolled into the garden. The little boy picked up the wool and handed it back to her and said, "Excuse me, Granny, I'm looking for the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside. Do you know where it is?" And Granny thought and thought, and she said, "You know, a house with a star inside would be so cozy and warm in the winter. But no, I don't think I've ever heard of a little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." The little boy thought, oh no, this isn't going to work out too well today. But Granny said, "You know, you might want to ask the wind. The wind whispers at everyone's window and wisps around everyone's chimney. The wind might know where you could find a little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside." The little boy thanked Granny and started on his way. He thought maybe it might be best to head home. This adventure wasn't working out too well. But then he thought, I wonder, maybe I should ask the wind. And he whispered kind of quietly, Wind, do you know where the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside is? Well, the wind was coming down the hill, and all of a sudden it turned, and it started to swirl around him and pushed him up the hill. And as it pushed him up the hill, it pushed him towards the orchard. And it whistled up a tree until it got to the very top, and it knocked an apple down out of the tree. The little boy picked up the apple and he looked at it. It's red. There's no doors or windows. I guess this stem could be the chimney, but I wonder if there's a star inside. He put the apple in his pocket and he kept on going home, but he wanted to make sure he thanked the wind, so he did. And he could have swore he thought he heard the wind say, "You're welcome." Anyway, the little boy got home and he told his mother all about his adventure. He told her about the little girl, and he told her about the farmer. He told her about Granny in the red sweater, and he told her about the wind. His mother looked at the apple and she smiled and she said, "Well, I don't know. It does look like a little red house. It does have a little chimney. Let's see if there's a star inside." So she took the apple into the kitchen and got a knife and cut the apple in half. And there, in the middle of the apple, was the star. "It's almost too good to eat," said the little boy. "I know," said his mother, "but let's eat it anyway." And that's just what they did. And that's the story of the Apple Star Adventure, the story of the little red house with no doors and no windows and a star inside.